get a phone call.
He said,
Were you okay with starting now?
yeah.
Alright, cool. I'm just double checking because I didn't really ask.
No, you're good. Let's do it.
How do you feel?
I feel good. I'm excited to do like an official like podcast like this.
No? Okay. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Art of Human podcast. This is episode 78. And we have Allex. Her full name is Alexandria.
Yeah.
Okay. And today is really cool because we're like at the park, which is, I don't know, I feel like it's like a dope vibe.
Yeah.
And like the camera setup's like actually pretty cool, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, Alex, how are you feeling right now?
I'm doing really good. I'm feeling good. I'm glad to be here today. First day of June, starting off this season good.
You're right. Today's the first day of June, and we're like 6 months through the year.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting how quickly that went by.
Yeah, really interesting.
How do you feel? Do you feel like the year has gone by pretty fast?
I definitely feel like the year has gone by really fast. Yeah. For it to be 2021, because it just felt like we were in 2020. And like when people say year, I really just am thinking like beginning of COVID. I'm thinking March of last year. So it's like we're in a new year. We're in like, my birthday is the official middle day of the year. I'm born June 20th, which is the official solar solstice, which is the longest day of the year and the official first day of summer. So I'm realizing we're really like about to be in the smack dab middle of the year.
Middle?
Yeah, and it's like that's cool, but I'm also like I'm about to be a whole nother year of life older, so it's like cool. It's really like 2 years, I feel like, or something.
2 years of what?
I feel like it's like 2 years of life almost, because I'm like I'm a year older, but we're almost in a brand new calendar year almost.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like a year and a half. I feel like I age every year, but this year feels interesting. So it's really cool to see how much has changed for us to be this far. I'm like, for it to have been this amount of time, it's like that felt like really fast, but also not.
A lot of stuff happened. Do you feel like?
Yeah, I feel like a lot happened. I feel like a lot happened with society. I personally feel like I had a lot of growth. I just feel like it's a new life. It really kind of is. I really do. Like COVID really, I feel like saved me in a lot of ways. I was able to have time. I was able to expand on my ideas and activate them. So it was a blessing, I feel like, in disguise. Definitely in disguise, though.
In disguise. So how do you want to... we're just kind of freestyling this because I feel that vibe. What are some of these ideas that you're talking about that you got to brainstorm during COVID?
Yeah, so I turned 21 in a pandemic. So last year I turned 21. And before I turned 21 that May, I had gotten certified as a yoga instructor. So now, getting ready to turn 22, I am a certified yoga instructor. This year, I have also gotten certified as a lifeguard and a swim instructor. I'm
Congrats.
also, thank you so much. Thank you. It's something that I've really just wanted to activate in like my due service to like the community, to expand our capabilities and just life-saving skills. Like really water skills are necessary, especially in California. It doesn't matter where you are, but water-saving skills are necessary. The ability to learn to breathe properly with yoga for stress. That's initially why I was like, this is a big thing for me, why I was like, okay. I'm also working right now to become a certified personal trainer. I'm finishing that up. I'm very excited about that because I've always done sports. I never really like learned to work out. So I was like, this is the best way for me to learn how to work out and teach other people that want to learn, because that's not something that we really learn. We know how to move, but like not what muscles are being activated, I feel like, and why it's important to activate those muscles. We don't get to why, I feel like, a lot. And I was like, I want to know why.
What with your yoga practices, what's been like the thing, like what's been the biggest highlight, or like what's been the biggest like whoa moment?
Oh my gosh, the biggest whoa moment I can say was when I went to my first sound bath. That was like it was sometime in the pandemic. It was around February, I believe. That was just, man, mind-blowing. I have a large music background, spans over about 12 years, I believe. I play tenor saxophone. I sing. But that sound bath was life-changing. It really was. It allowed me to just feel so at ease in what we call a yoga high. And it was like one of the best experiences that I've ever had. And I am so grateful to have been at that event. I almost didn't go, and I am really so grateful and thankful that God placed me there because, unfortunately, the practitioner, she was susceptible to COVID, and she did pass. But I am so grateful to have been in her presence because she graced me with that understanding of how important it was to activate ourselves, like our minds and our body through sounds. And that's what sound bowls are for. They're really for you to get a higher understanding of like where your mind and body could be just by tuning into these sounds that are happening, as we do with other types of music, but it's simply just these specific notes and sounds. So that was really one of the biggest parts. And now I have my own sound bowls. There are two different types. There's crystal sound bowls, which are literally crystal glass. They're very thin. I'm a bit heavy-handed, so I have the metal Tibetan
so you
hand
can't break
bowls.
it?
Yeah, like you can if you drop it. Let's not be like, all right.
But it won't be as easy as the crystal one.
No. They're
Okay.
definitely both pretty sturdy, but I just know I'm a little heavy-handed. So, yeah, I'm glad that I have the Tibetan bowls. They're really cool. They work on different chakras because of the notes that they have. So they activate different types of energy centers by the binaurals. Binaurals are essentially the notes in our brains that activate by hearing certain sounds. I feel like all of us have, to a certain degree, heard a song or two, and you're just like, ooh, this note just makes me feel good. That's essentially what the sound bars are doing. They're getting just that note, so you're like, that's that feel-good note for you to really just be in that note, be in that state for longer.
Okay, and then my question is actually, if you could elaborate on it, what is a sound bath?
So a sound bath, I know most people are just like, it's a bath. It's not. A sound bath is essentially when you are at a session and you've got different types of sound bowls, or you've got sounds like chimes or the bells, or even like they sound like the little I'm blanking on the chimes, like the rain chimes, and just different like sounds. They've got gongs as well. It's really just where you're in a meditative state. Most classes, they do a little yoga before to get your body warmed up, and they get your mind warmed up through meditation, your lungs warmed up through the breath work that you're doing. And then it's like, all right, your body is prepared for this new state of easiness, and you ease into it just by allowing the sounds to just wash over you like a bath. Really just immersing yourself in what's going on. And it's like you're in your own meditative state of just feeling everything just that is there for you when you're experiencing those sounds.
So when you do a sound bath, is it usually like a group?
Yeah, you could do a sound bath as a group. You could do it as an individual person, one-on-one. I do sound bath sessions right now. I have 2 different bowls. I do have a friend who I do work with because he has the crystal bowls. So hearing the 2 types of sounds together, as well as like with our chimes and our gongs and different sounds, it really is just like a way to be immersed in those sounds and be like, okay, I understand how my body feels when I hear these sounds. So for me, I felt like sound bowls and sound baths were important because it's like, if I know my body could feel this way when I hear this note, how can I make my body kind of feel this way all the time in like my yoga practice or affirmations I tell myself or in activities I enjoy, you know? So I call it a euphoric understanding, and for me, that was really one of them. I was like, this just makes me feel so great. I want to have this all the time.
That's really cool. I'm just getting into I'm not really practicing particularly like yoga, but for people listening, and I mean, you already kind of know, but I started doing like flow training, which is I guess it's a type of training that this guy called Mike Chan created. I think he's the one who actually created the whole, that particular style of training called flow training. And it has like practices from all different types of like arts. Like it has some yoga, it has some qigong, it has tai chi, it has breath work. But it goes with what you were saying about when you do the sound bath, like you work yourself up to the point where you do that like really deep meditative part, which in your case was like the sound bath.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's really interesting because, and how you were mentioning earlier about how you learning about exercise, but then how each muscle group like has its own influence on your body. Like I think that is important to learn about because that's, you're making working out or movement more so into an intimate experience with yourself versus it being something to impress the external world.
Yes, exactly.
How do you feel about that?
I 10,000% agree. That's exactly why I do like all the things I do, so you can find that understanding of how this applies to everything else. So like even the simple thing of like breathing, I can use breath work when I'm swimming because it helps me with anxiousness, even on certain things. And, you know, a lot of people I've taught, you know, 3 months old up to 76-year-olds in swimming before, like beginners. And the thing that like people kind of forget is like, if you're a rock, you sink. If you're a feather, you float. You can't tense up in the water. And like breath work is something that allowed me to understand, yeah, that's very important in the water. That's a life-saving skill when I'm in the work environment to like reduce physical stress I may be feeling. That could prevent an anxiety attack, like knowing how to tap into your breath alone, because you can feel, you biologically have, I think it's 36 to 56 seconds, don't quote me on the numbers exactly, but you have time before your body fully taps into an anxiety attack. And if you can be in tune with yourself and feel like things are changing and I see this, you can take control of your power and change the course of that and really be always in the mindset, be more consciously in the state of, I'm okay, this is feeling great, or I'm growing and moving through this to get to the greater part. So it's not always feeling like, so woe is me, because I feel like in this world it's really easy to get like that.
Mm-hmm. What for you in particular do you do when you get into those really anxious moments? Like, is there a particular like style of breath, or like do you do like 60 seconds, or like what do you usually do for that?
Yeah, so if I'm in a stressful situation, or if I'm feeling like anxious or anything like that, typically I literally, and I'll do this to my friends, I've done this to strangers before and it really works. I'll just be like, breathe. And I just say that out loud. I'm like, let's breathe. Like, let's take a moment. Let's just breathe. Because you verbalizing that, you know, that's a lot of chemical reactions that have to go on for you to verbalize anything. So once you're finally there, your brain really hears it from the outside in. It's kind of like, oh, they told us to breathe. Okay. You know, I tap kind of into breathing, and I do a 4-count breath where I inhale for 4, exhale for 4. Then I make it deeper. Inhale for 5, exhale for 5, for 6, and so on. So I pretty much just expand the lungs. I tune my mind into the breathing only. And then I'm like, okay, let's make a plan from here. Let's figure out what I need first. And then I assess what my body needs. And I'm like, have I eaten today? Have I had any water? Those 2 things alone could change up whatever else is about to happen. So I assess kind of how I'm feeling and or why I'm feeling. But I can't do anything until I just like kind of like, it's like that shut off. It's like the Thanos snap when I'm like, breathe. It's like everything is gone.
So do you almost, because this is kind of what I feel like happens with me nowadays when I do like meditation and stuff. Is it like you first want to like find the neutral? Like for instance, like if your emotions are pretty high, you first want to come down. And then once you've basically come back to being neutral, then you start to mindfully go through why is it that I got to that point? Is that kind of what you, because you just mentioned like, did I eat today? Did I get, you know, so you kind of start running through the checklist kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely like that, because it's like you really, like you said, until you're back to where you can like really think clearly, because there's too many emotions going on, and your emotions are going to cause that physical stress, that heartbeat. It's going to cause your muscles to tense up, and although you may kind of try to put that mask per se in front of your mind that like I'm okay, you biologically still aren't okay. You really need to just give yourself that time. So I believe that's why I'm like, just wait, like you said, wait till you're there. Give your body that time, you know, like you've got your own timing. It may be a few minutes, it may be an hour if you need to shoot, you know, but you have to give yourself that time. Otherwise you're going to mess up like the rest of the course of what you're trying to do, I feel like.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I've been talking about, I forget who I was talking to it about, but I feel like within our culture, and I'll just say the America, United States, California, because that's what I really know. But I feel like it's always been like, don't cry. You know, like someone's starting to cry, don't cry, don't. But it's like, what do you mean if they're starting to cry? Why does it make sense to stop it?
Yeah.
Like it's you're pretty much saying resist. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I'm not here to judge people that do that because I've been one to do that. But my thing is like, I think as a culture, as a society, we need to start changing that, because that's teaching us to suppress ourselves versus to allow the energy to flow, which people maybe don't think about it this way, but I know this is true because I've just experienced it through my mindfulness, that the environment that you are in will influence you. And so if there is one person in the room that is dealing with anxiety and there's a lot of tension, that's going to somehow manifest. But if there's someone who's just very flowy and very neutral and very peaceful, then that person inspires the environment in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So as a society, as a culture, the more people that are at peace, then there's more peace within the whole organism that we are.
Yes.
But the more anxiety that there is and the more resistance and suppression, we inspire other people to suppress themselves. And then now it makes it even more hard to let go because we're so fearful of we're going to get judged because we're not suppressing, you know, because we're actually be crying, because we're letting these emotions just kind of run their course versus just pretending to be tough.
No, I 10,000 agree. And because you're not letting those emotions flow, now you've created, like you just said, you've created more physical tension and anxiety because now your ego is trying to play and not allow your emotions to show. You're just constantly putting up walls and putting up walls. For me, mantras are a really big thing too. When I see someone crying, my thing is, you know, people cry for many different reasons, but fear, stress, and not feeling okay is a big thing. So for my biggest thing is like when I'm crying or someone's crying, it's like my big thing is you are safe, you are protected, and you are blessed. Like those three things, remember that, like, you know, I'm okay, you know, because sometimes we say okay too much, you know. I feel like we need trigger words that like make us like tap into like, oh, this is really all right. We're like, you're okay. I'm not okay. Like, you know.
No, I'm for sure. Like, I feel like you ask people, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing okay. Mm-hmm. But it's like damn, you know, we're not doing, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could, like, not to like, but like, let's be real. Like, not everyone's okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, which, don't get me wrong, like, of course, in certain circumstances, you might feel scared to really be like, no, I'm not okay. But
I think it's that approach too that matters as well too. Because like a big thing that I started doing, I was at, wow, this was a while ago. I started this. I've been a pescatarian now for 9 months. And the last time that I was at Chick-fil-A, so a while ago, I remember that like something told me to ask the lady how she was doing. How are you doing today? Because, you know, they're always so cheery and like everything. And like I was at the window, so I just started talking to her. I was like, how's your day going today? How have you been? And this lady just needed to unload. She was going through a lot. You know, it was graduation season. She's got 2 kids. They're doing great, but, you know, mom and all this stuff. Like, she really just needed an ear. And it's not like it's anything really drastic. It's things that we're just like, yeah, we know, but someone really needs an ear. And like, although like she was giving me I'm okay, I could tell there was like that face, that work face of I'm okay. I was like, you're not really okay. And she just needed another ear. She needed another moment. She needed to be able to work through her emotions, because sometimes we're in situations, it really sucks, like even workplace environments where you can't truthfully feel through what you need to get through so you could productively finish. And I was like, that sucks. It's early in the morning. I don't know how long you've been here or how long you're going to be here, and you're feeling like this. It's not going to be better for anybody, you know? So I just feel like asking people, hey, how are you doing today? And like see their response. Because some people, like, I've asked that before and they're like taken back. They're like, because they're so like, hi, what can I do for you? What can I get you? Because they're like, we have like quoted me because of upper management. I have this to do because of what upper class or upper whatever told me I have to do. And it's already putting that stress on yourself. You already know you have those things you have to do, but you know it's just that added stress on top of whatever interpersonal things you had going on, whatever you have going on at home or whatever else you're doing, you know? I feel like just taking a moment every single day to just step aside of ourselves and to really see what's going on in someone else will allow us to understand like how human we all really are, like what we've really all got going on, and that you're not alone and it's okay, and like everybody goes through things type thing, you know? So that's a big thing.
100%. And I think something that's helped me, and maybe me sharing this could help someone in the audience or maybe even you, like something that's helped me is to see some really, really happy, compassionate, successful people in this world who express their vulnerability and their fears, and when they express themselves in a very vulnerable position where you're just like, man, they're a person who is very nice. I think they're amazing at what they do, but they're also willing to say that they're scared, or they were scared, or they went through these struggles. And for me, that's one of the most inspirational things. Or when people release music, and in the music they release really sensitive information. Like, I absolutely like love that, because I think that is power. Like, I really think that that's where you manifest real power. And I think that's where you inspire, like, a lot. Because I think the second that you admit to fear, like you admit that you have it,
you give it power.
Then you overcome the fear controlling you, and now you've, in a way, been able to see it eye to eye. And if it's not in that moment, constantly accepting it, eventually you'll overcome it by saying it's so, I do fear it, and I feel, and it's like, it's all right. You know, and that's been really powerful. What do you feel for you has been something that's helped you to maybe have the motivation to tackle your fear, or what's been something that's helped you overcome fear?
Overcoming fear. Honestly, something that made me overcome fear was actually kind of goes back to the crying thing, because I've learned that growing pains hurt. It doesn't matter what type of form it is, they hurt, and tears are necessary. So, it took a while for me. It's really crazy that that's ingrained in us, because I would be at home, like, literally alone, like, nobody's at the house because they left for 30 minutes or something, and, like, I'm having, like, a little fit, and I'm crying, and I'm telling myself, don't cry. I'm just like, and I was starting to put that ego up, and I was like, who am I fighting with? Literally, nobody's here. Literally. I was like, my dog's not even here to watch me cry,
Yeah.
So when I started seeing that I kind of really allowed just so much that we learn as a society to be used in my everyday, and I looked at myself in the mirror one day and I was crying, and I was like, that's ugly. You don't look cute when you cry. I'm not a cute crier. And I was like, I don't like to look ugly. You need to stop crying. And I was like, that's why you don't cry, because you're too cute to cry. I was like, there's no reason to cry. And then it's like, I don't like you seeing you sad. When I see other people cry, it makes my heart hurt. It makes me want to cry. So, like, when I saw myself cry and I saw myself crying, I was just like, you don't want to cry. You don't want to feel like that. And it was really just that. Like, that was a big thing that kind of, like, helped me get through it. I was like, you don't want to feel like this. You don't like this right now. And you don't want to feel like this forever or longer than you have to. So why don't we try to do this? Now what do you need? Like, that was the biggest thing. Like, even up to this morning, like, I had to do that because I was starting to feel upset about things. It's just like, it's really easy to create that. I just feel like looking into, like, what's really happening, and that takes a lot, but really verbalizing what's happening. Even like in therapy, they'll be like, these are touch points. Like, okay, this is a table. This is the air. This is grass. This is a microphone. Like, verbalize, like, bring yourself back to reality. Where are you currently? What's really going on? I feel like we kind of space out in our mind so much and create all this stuff that's not happening sometimes. It's like, what are you really upset about, So for me, it was just stating exactly what is really happening in real time, brought me back to mindfulness and consciousness, what's happening in the moment. And then just seeing, like, looking at myself, even like I have ugly pictures of myself crying. I was like, oh no, why is it crying? You look so sad. Like, I don't like that. Or, sometimes I have certain files that I've hearted it's like a file of, like, dogs and flowers, of, like, things that I just like that makes me happy, like good songs. So even if you're like, I'm upset and I look at my phone, at least iPhones, I know they have that, like, thing that'll pop up here and there, like, oh, these pictures, so I could be upset, but it'll give me that reminder of, like, there's no need to be sad. Like, there's no need to feel like this is forever, because it's not. Because I feel like that's the next step. You're upset and you're like, this is the feeling forever. And so really, like, I just feel like activating in consciousness, mindfulness of, like, bringing yourself back to where you are in the moment, and then looking at how you really looking. Like, even when you look upset, you're like, ooh, that's going to create a lot of wrinkles. I should just stop that, Like, look about that. Look at that. Think about the long term. You're like, I don't want that. And I feel like that's what kind of helps you create the healthier habit for it. That's really been the biggest thing.
And yeah, one of the things that this is actually something that I learned from Mike Chang. He had a video on YouTube, and I watched it, and it legitimately, like, instantaneously had a benefit on me. Like, I started practicing it, like, right there in the video, and it was basically like, or maybe it wasn't that particular video, but I know he's mentioned it. But it's this idea that when you feel an emotion, you stop perceiving the emotion as being something separate from you.
Yes.
So, for instance, like, if I'm angry or if I'm sad, I am the anger and I am the sadness. So in that sense, I don't have to be frustrated at the fact that, oh, I'm upset, da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is, I am the sadness, so I will immerse myself in, like, that feeling and let it pass.
Mm-hmm.
I will, if I'm angry, and I could just kind of fake it right now, you know, just imagine something happened, I got angry. Right, and then Mike Chang mentions how, like, the emotion might spike because you might think of something, but then you keep, you know, I'm angry, but I'm not here projecting my anger.
Yes.
I'm not here breaking things. I'm not here yelling at you. I'm not complaining about the thing that allegedly got me angry. Like, I'm here and I'm one with anger.
Yes.
And in that sense, then you could legitimately allow the emotion to extinguish versus imagine the emotion being like a fire, and I'm here lighting this and I'm lighting this and I'm lighting everything. And imagine that. Like, imagine if your emotions were like a fire. Just imagine how much craziness would be if now you had to put out a whole fire versus let me just put out the fire that's right here, let it disappear, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But that in itself is an art form.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that in itself is an art form, and I could say that just because I've practiced it, and it's something that you need to practice for sure.
It really is. And, like, even the breathing, there are many different types of breathing techniques such as that can bring you into it. But I definitely felt like, you know, even that sometimes, that's why I didn't instantly say the breathing, because I know some people are like, well, maybe I'm not doing it right, and then you start focusing on that, and then that adds another wheel of whatever to the emotion at the time. So that's why I'm just like, literally, it's like, bring yourself to what is happening around you. Like, even if you're just like, these are my shoulders, this is my hair, this is this, like, you know, bring yourself really back to reality. And then I'm just like, okay, because, like, by doing that, you're already decreasing, like, the adrenaline and your heart rate. You're already doing that, and now you're like, okay, now I can breathe because I can remember to breathe. And I was like, I agree with you, because I have been able to get to higher, like, you know, elevations of that, to be able to be like, just like, okay. And, like, that's a big thing that I do now too. Like, I tried to do the breathing because I agree. It's like, if you don't, like, you really can let that, like, just spread around. Even in simple things that you're trying to do, like, I was just upset about something like this morning, and then I was just like, and then I bumped my shoulder, like, just the slightest bump, and I was like, oh my gosh, now that happened. I was like, man, it's not that big a deal. Like, just breathe. Like, you know.
But before we get too far, I want to say that, like, the point that you make is, like, really good too, though. Like, like, seriously, like, actually being mindful of the, like, just, like, you know, like, kind of feeling shit, and, like, you're saying, like, that's the grass, this is the mic, like, that's the most real thing. Because then it's like, oh, everything is here.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is here, even though my thoughts are racing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but by doing that, I think that's really great, because it kind of reminds you that everything's just one thing.
Yeah.
It's not like my thoughts are there, this is there. Like, no, everything is here all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great strategy. I didn't want to, I apologize, I didn't really validate that after, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, super late. Yeah, I really think that there's just many things that we could do, but I like that, the breathing and the just activating mindfulness of where you are. Those are definitely the top two for me, I'd say.
Okay. Who or what do you have any particular, like, role models that, like, maybe you look up to, or who have inspired you in any way?
Yes, if I had to say any role models off the top of my head, I would say my mom. I would say Keena McGregor, who is an Ashtanga yoga teacher, and I would say Robin Fenty Rihanna.
Who's the last two?
Robin Rihanna Fenty.
Who's that?
Rihanna, that's her full name.
Rihanna, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's got many names, many aliases, but I really love her, and I admire her for her business ethic. Just, being one of the richest female owners, just one of the richest women in the world, like owning multiple businesses, and just like her activism and how she's really there to give people empowerment through her products is a big goal of mine as well. And I really just admire her for that. And just her fashion, I love clothes. Even my editor for all of my website stuff, he's a fashion designer, so I love the clothing industry, upcycling. I love all that. And just Kino, because she was a big factor in me doing yoga, like, full on. She was a big online YouTube inspiration for me, and I don't use YouTube like that, but now I'm learning the online world, and I'm like, that was a good introduction for me. I was like, I could get stuck in this rabbit hole of like all these things. Like, I remember when I was in like 7th or 8th grade and I found her on YouTube, and I was just like, oh, I want to do like splits on the wall and headstands and all this crazy stuff. Like, she inspired me because I was like, just to have someone that was willing to show you the breakdown of how to do something, and that I was like, I could see myself doing that. It gave me the confidence and the validation that you can do this too, type thing. I was like, yes, I love that. And I would just say my mom, because she's just such a caring person, and she is really thoroughly big on, if you're not putting your best foot forward, you can't be upset about what you get in return. And I think that that's something that has really had to be instilled in me because of there's so many things that could cause us to feel stressed. But if you're continually reminding yourself of what is my best, what is my purpose kind of thing, what am I here for, it really just allows the rest to kind of dissipate. Like, it's like remembering what you're here for, remembering why you're doing anything for. And I've just really gotten to a point in purpose in life. I'm like, if it doesn't serve me, then it doesn't. Like, that. If it doesn't serve me and it's not for me, it doesn't serve me anymore. I literally left a job a month ago, and I couldn't be happier with where I'm at, because I was like, I just don't feel like it serves me anymore. I took what I learned from that, and I'm able to use those skills, and even if things, not that it did, but if any experience anyone has, it's like that ended bad, don't let that ending be the pinnacle of what it all was. It's kind of like the anger and not accepting like the fullness of it. Accept what really was there, although it may have had that to it. Accept and take what you can from this, and you go on with that, because that's what that experience was for you. So I feel like that has allowed me to not become stagnant in things, allowed me to have a lot of experiences and understand that things have timelines, and not be so upset about them when they don't work out the way I want them to, although we get upset. And like, just be a little more, that wasn't for me. That I was doing that because that was someone else's best. I was doing that because that was someone else's expectation. That's not what that is for me, and that's not what I need. So she's big on like being your own person, being confident in what you're doing, and if it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, stop trying to push that, because what's for you is going to come to you regardless.
Damn. I feel like that's such a like easy way, but like it's like oftentimes it's hard to just to just live that freely.
Yeah, I know. It really is hard, I believe, but consistency with everything and a plan. Because even if you're just like for me with pescatarianism per se, because I'm a pescatarian, and there's many reasons why I was like, I'll do it, but my dad's a chef, so I have had access to some pretty good meats before, and so I was just like, what is my reason? Why am I really gonna do this? And I was just like, for health benefits, for just rights benefits to animals. I was just like, for independence, I want to be able to have access to all of my food. I can grow vegetables and go fish for fish easier than I could raise a livestock animal and or a child. So I'm like, I could just do this, convenience, accessibility, price, there are just many reasons for me why I did what I did, and I had to realize, was that for me? Is this a type of lifestyle I want, or no? Because I love me some lamb chops. I do. I love Mediterranean food. I love me some lamb chops. But I was like, this isn't something that I could see myself having these type of nutrients, this fuel for myself all the time. It's something that I'm just like, my ego would like to eat this nice plated dinner like this here and there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's not practical with who my day in, day out is. And if it's not, I need to not have it be such a factor in my life. It doesn't matter that much. So just things that are only going to be kind of like, you know, a one-time thing that you know fully aren't making, even after the impact that it will on your like body, your soul, your mind, that you know it needs to. It's like, let that go. I had to let a lot of people go because I felt that. I just let opportunities go because I felt that, you know, when someone's even trying to put their own boundaries of pressure on you and you feel that and you're not even accepted into that, it's like, this is a sign that this isn't for me. It's just a catalyst for more issues, like the snowball effect. So I feel like in order to make that work through all parts of your life, you got to really just assess, what is my purpose and how is this going to benefit me here and in the long term. Thinking about long term is something I feel will like help us a lot more in our temporary situations, so you won't react out of emotion.
So you basically like, you have a very high purpose and you have a very long-term plan, so that way like losing the job, getting a new job, like losing a friend, getting a like, so then all those things are just like, oh, like it doesn't really mean as much as before.
Literally, and scientifically, energy is never created or destroyed. Nothing is ever, you know, and we say that like it's destroyed, like it's never going to be there again. Like even like that job, it was working at a nonprofit organization. I want to create my own nonprofit organization. I learned a lot from this experience, you know. It was for me for the time that it was for me. So I kind of just transitioned out of that stage of learning the knowledge that I need. Now I'm in a new stage. Now I'm able to start doing interning for the personal training, getting this new stage of what I'm being called to for now. Like, we're always being called to things. It's just where it's being shifted. That simple fact was how I got out of the fast food industry. Because, like I said, my dad's a chef. Like, I know what quality food looks like versus not. And I just was getting so upset. I couldn't be a part of it. I was like, my purpose is to help people and what I call a wellness warrior and better their life. I don't feel like working at a fast food place where we are upcharging people and I see that they're coming in here and they're upset, like, you know, like a little more upset than like you should be on certain stipulations of things because they spent money on this. And yes, I understand you spent money on this, but you and I both know you spent probably $30 on this like 20-piece wing. You could have spent $30 and went ahead and bought yourself groceries for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, and you wouldn't be that upset. And now, if you still wanted the thing, moderation, if you still want the experience, go ahead and come on in. You probably get a 10-piece, you get a 6-piece. You still get to do that, but you keep the longevity. So it's not putting your eggs into this basket so hard that you gave someone else power of. So you eliminate that room for error by taking control and going ahead and be like, well, I'm just going to make this meal. Like, simple things like that is kind of how I feel like it's like you get less frustrated by everything and slowly start to eliminate the things that don't serve you. I know it's a bit of a process.
Damn. I feel like you definitely got, I feel like, I don't know, my friend Braxton, we just did a podcast and he was talking about how there's like the young 20s to 30s and then there's like the old heads 20 to 30s. And he's basically talking about how like, you know, people who are like in their 20s or 30s who are like really like focused on a craft or who have this like purpose or goal and like they're constantly pursuing it. Like, those are like people who like, people will be like, damn, like you're only that old and like you're thinking that way, you're doing that.
Yeah.
And like immediately with everything you're telling me, that's like how I feel on you. I'm like, whoa, like that's freaking awesome that you have the capacity to be that fluid of just like being able to let go of something and then move on to the next thing. Cause that's like the game changer. Cause like seriously, because think about why we have so much problems is because we're trying to hold on to things and we're not willing to let go of it. But if you have the ability to let go, like you're gonna have an amazing lifetime that I know you're gonna be able to help a lot of people.
Yes. Yeah, I really just, it's really that. I was just like, I had to let go. It was causing me too much stress. It really was. Like, I really say COVID saved me in a lot of things because I had a lot of stress and like the loss of like friends and what I felt like myself was like in late 2019. So 2020, I was just like, everybody was like, okay, yeah, like we're ready for 2020. 2020, I was like, okay, I'm ready to figure out who I'm gonna be. And then we were in the house, so I had nothing but time to go ahead and just craft and mold this and figure this out. Like I said, activate the things that had already been active in my soul, like knowing this. So I was able to just tap into that. And I feel like that's why meditation and mindfulness is so necessary, because it allows you to sit still. And that's why I say even the sound bowls are necessary, because they allow you to really hear those sounds, but sit still and enjoy the tones. You know, like music is for you to enjoy this certain tone or melody that makes you feel a certain way. But a lot of our music can become oversaturated with messages that don't really let you just feel that. Like, I'm like, I feel like lo-fi beats, instrumentals, stuff like that. Like, I was like, it really just makes you feel like productive even, you know? Like, they have those in business offices, like, you know, that when it's not elevator music, you know, stuff like that really makes you feel like, okay, I could get into this. I could, like, get some stuff done. I'm feeling kind of active, you know? Like, those certain sounds, the certain foods we put in our body, the certain people that we allow around, all that can cause you stress. And like, just one thing I want to say, because it just popped into my head, I feel like a big thing that a lot of people do when they're just like, well, I can't because this, I can't because this, I can't because this, I can't because this. Look at how many times you just told yourself, I cannot. You're not taking your power. You're not activating your power that you have. You're not activating your reason why you're here. Like, think about it. Like, you're a human being. Like, you can talk and you have thumbs, and literally because we have those two things, we're better than animals. Like, that's it that makes us better. Like think about it. We can communicate in a different language than they can, and we have thumbs. That's all that makes us better. So if you have those two things, even if you don't have thumbs, even if you don't have limbs, you know, that inspires me as well. Like, seeing like the disabled Olympics, have you ever seen the Olympics?
Paralympics?
Yes, the Paralympics. Yes, the Paralympics. Them people like inspire me like no other. I'm like, you're doing things that I should be able to do with the things that I have, and I'm not doing them. You know, like you said, like seeing other people activate their selves is very motivating and very inspirational. But I feel like what we do is set them on a pedestal so easily of now that's so unattainable for me. You know, it is attainable for any and everyone who just puts their heart and their mind into what it is that they want to do that serves them. So by saying, I cannot do this, you've already put yourself in a position where you can't do that. Even if it's difficult, it's not going to be comfortable. None of it's comfortable. It's never comfortable until you allow it to be in your level of comfort. And also for myself, I just demand and know that I deserve a higher quality of life. And I'm just like, I'm allowing just too much to happen in my energy cycle that shouldn't be happening. You know, like people were starting to just come at me wrong and talk to me in ways that I don't approach people. You know, it's really you give what you get. And when you're starting to get things that you know in your heart and soul that you're not giving, I feel like that's a large clue for you to just head on out of there, like break that. Because I'm like, you know, if you're not giving that, why are you getting that? Because that person has their own issues, because they're reflecting their self onto you and they're not ready to tackle that. And if they're going to keep doing that, then you got to go, because you don't deserve that. You're not going to accept that. That's putting yourself on that pedestal that you deserve, because you are.
Damn, dude. That was like a whole podcast right there. Let's move on to the humanity talk. So basically, there's a two-part, and I think I mentioned this before.
Okay.
But what is something within society right now that you feel is like, wow, like I'm actually really proud of us as a species because we've developed in whatever way, or we created this, or we did that, or I'm seeing more of this. And then let's do the contrary, which is like, what is something that we need to focus more of our attention on? And you could start with whichever one you think is better.
Okay, well, I'd firstly like to say that I love that the people who live on the planet that serves us and gives us air are starting to realize that this is what gives us air. There's a lot of new materials that are becoming recyclable, compostable, upcycled. The other day, I saw that this lady, I believe she's in San Francisco, even stationed up there, she created this type of floor tiling that is made of like completely 100% recycled materials. Like, the fact alone, I was like, you created a tile type structure that someone could live on in their household, and it's made of a structure that I know isn't going to hurt anything. For me, you know, this consumerism, creating something big that, you know, is just a one-time use, kind of like the meal that's a one-time thing just for the one-time meal, and it doesn't serve you fully, is just ridiculous. And I'm not going to invest my time, money, or effort into anything that doesn't serve me like that. So us realizing how much we need the trees that give us air, how much we need the soil that allows us to have the fruits and vegetables that's maybe overpriced at our, you know, supermarkets and are probably better and ethically sourced at our local farmers markets and marketplaces, you know, things like that. I definitely have seen, even that alone, more farmers markets. I know at least in my area, up the coast, Cali, I've been checking it out more. There's more farmers markets. People are just like sustainably sourced. People are having their own independently run businesses, which is a great thing as well. They're just like taking control of their power. That's something great. And I just love to see that we're finally realizing, like, hey, we can go ahead and reuse these things. Like, there's many purposes for all these things, how much everything matters. And that just makes me happy that we're going to be able to, like, keep growing. Like, things are going to keep going. And, like, because I'm like, everything's going to become recyclable, you know? Like, even, like, I don't know if you guys know, but there's, like, soap that, like, you could buy. And it's, like, the little, like, it's like a little tablet thing. You put water on it once you're washing your hands, and that's what activates it. Instead of buying soap that's already got water in it, and that's why sometimes it separates and you got to shake it up or whatever to activate it. Why don't you just use, because you pay for water, don't you, to use that? So you paid for water in this packaging with plastic to use the water that you got to pay a bill for to use on top of that, you know? Like, take your power back. We don't need all that extra stuff, you know? I'm big on minimalism. But another thing that I could say that we could work on a lot more, man, I think that just the biggest thing that we could work on as an entire universe, what we could work on as an entire universe right now is allowing our responsive times to not come out of us until we are ready to hear that be said to ourselves. So again, we should not allow responses to come out of us until we are ready to hear that to ourselves. So kind of proofreading. Again, it's like that fire with the motion that we're lighting. I see too much on social media. There's things that are said that I'm just like, you definitely didn't proofread that because there's typos. And on top of that, you must have been in a rage. You must have not read that. Because I feel as though things would not be said if they were read back to someone's reading that to you. Because you wouldn't want to read that. You wouldn't want to feel that. Again, like when you're crying, you don't want to see someone else sad. So you don't want to be crying. Really just empathizing, take yourself out of yourself a lot and understand the humanity of what's going on in the world. And I feel like you won't be so quick to respond. You won't be so quick to do things or say things or just act a certain way that you know is going to be harmful to someone else. So I really think there's something we could work on as an entire universe is response times. Everything doesn't have to be so fast. If you aren't ready to respond to that email, don't respond to that email. Because you're going to sit here and now you're stressed on if that response you gave was appropriate enough and waiting for their reply. Again, you just gave someone else some power over you again and now you're stressed out. You weren't ready to read that. You weren't ready to say that. Now, you know, take control of your power. Like, you know, everybody tries to infringe upon you their deadlines. You have yours as well. And as long as you're communicating and everybody's in agreement, there's no issues. That's what I'm saying. Like, take time to think about those responses, and then you'll have broader communication. Like, we're very live fast, die hard. So, again, we're doing great with upcycling everything. I think that we're going to be great in the future as long as we keep it going. I hope that all of the children of the future, adults of the world, that we just continue to reuse. We don't need to keep creating new stuff. We can create new stuff from what we already have. There's a lot here. Look at what's at the base. And again, just look into yourself first if you would like to hear this coming from someone else before you say it to someone else.
Damn. So that's pretty much like the golden rule, no? Like, treat everyone the way you'd like to be treated kind of thing?
I say treat everyone the way you would treat your closest lover. Because sometimes you don't treat yourself the way that you should.
That's a good point.
Treat everyone the way you would treat your closest lover.
That's actually the great point, because it could be your dog, it could be a best friend, it could be your grandma, nephew.
Uncle. Yeah, anybody.
That's actually true. Because that's right. A lot of times with yourself, you wouldn't care to treat yourself that nicely.
Yeah.
But if it's like an innocent baby, or you just became an uncle, like you would never want your little nephew. That's actually a good point. That actually is probably better than the golden rule.
We got new gold.
We got a new damn. That's like a platinum. That's like the platinum standard.
Yeah, put it on the wall.
Dude, I was gonna ask you like, what's the message for the human race, but I feel like you basically just gave it. And like anything, huh?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's
right? Because I feel like anything more than that would just like oversaturate like that beautiful moment. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Otherwise, I think we should finish on that note.
For all of my social medias, you can check me out on Instagram. It's gonna be PeaceOH Mind, Peace O Mind. My goal is to have everyone experience peace of mind at the palm of their hand. So POM is gonna be what you're looking for. Also, if you want to follow me on my personal, I do weekly sound baths, and that's gonna be Life's Chill. It's LYFES_chill. You guys can check me out on my socials. I've got some YouTube videos coming out later next month, an entire series, and I'll also be having in-person classes at Choose Fitness soon. So very excited. A lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah, guys, and I'll make sure to put everything she just said in the description, so you guys can just find in the description of this YouTube video or wherever the hell you're listening to it. Yep. Just check the description. And yeah, guys, I think me and Alex will probably end up doing some future content together. I'm pretty sure. So if you guys enjoyed this podcast, just make sure and leave a comment or just leave some sort of feedback so that we know that people want to maybe see this happen again. Either way, we'll have it happen again.
Yeah, we're going to do it. We don't care. It's our power. We care.
All right. Alex, I just want to say thank you so much.
Yes.
You have definitely... Not a problem. You're always welcome. You've definitely been another guest, but very much like at a high level, someone who I feel, I mean, you just took the show. Like seriously, like I didn't really have to do anything. You just had so much wisdom and so much beautiful perspective. And I know not only that, but you said it in a very loving way. And I could definitely feel the passion that you have for everything. So thank you, Alex. And, until next time. Yeah, until next time, everybody. We'll be here.
Maybe a different park. Ooh.
Different park, yeah. All right, that is it.